Gather round, children. It's time for a story. 'Twas the week before E3, and all through the land, the gaming lovers and friends waited to see what had been planned. Yet some secrets have been leaked, and other news revealed. So let's talk everything from Google Stadia to Pokemon Sword and Shield.
The Gaming Lovers Podcast with Brendo and Jem.
Well, E3 is basically on my doorstep as I record this. It may have already passed for you, but this week on episode number 60 of the Gaming Lovers Podcast, we're talking everything that was released and revealed in the pre-E3 press conference period. Everything that was before the big reveals that Xbox and Square Enix and everyone else had at the E3 conferences proper, where we usually get all of our information about the new games and new systems and etc. coming out. In the week leading up to E3, we had a heck of a lot of information drop as well from other companies. Google revealing how Stadia will be priced and its subscriptions and all that jazz. We had new game reveals that nobody saw coming, a couple of confirmed things that were just previously rumors. It's been an exciting week, and there's just so much to dive into. That'll be later on in this episode. I should probably just stop and do a little introduction first. It is Brendo, one half of the Gaming Lovers. My dear wife Jem, still traveling the United States of America, and her holiday is nearing its end. So next week, just in time for the bulk of E3 talk, Jem will be back. She'll be jet-lagged, but she'll also be very excited for all of the great gaming news that's coming up next week. But in the meantime, I'm still here to keep you company and to talk all things pre-E3. This is the pre-E3 spectacular. But first, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. We, of course, need to talk some gaming goals. Gaming goals. Gaming goals. Gaming goals. Beatboxing, obviously not my specialty. Apologies for that. I was trying something different with the gaming goals introduction this week. Now, Silent Hill. Last week, I mentioned that out of the blue, myself and my good buddy the Falcon decided to give Silent Hill 1 a spin 20 years after its original launch. And I wanted to start gaming goals off with some good news because, yes, we actually managed to get together again this past 7-day span and we beat Silent Hill 1 on our quest to play through the majority of, if not the entirety, of the Silent Hill saga. Now, we had a fantastic time revisiting Silent Hill 1. I'm not sure if it's just been so long that some things were sort of fresh enough that we'd forgotten about certain aspects of the games, forgotten about certain puzzles or bosses. But then you've always got that weird feeling when you have played something before that you have the memories, and sometimes they don't quite line up right. And we had a couple of situations like that where we expected to face a boss after the hospital, and no, there's no boss triggering. Okay, what do we do now? I'm a bit confused. He's a bit confused. It was actually quite amusing. Now, we did not actually make it a flawless attempt, though. We were playing on hard for the extra challenge, but we could handle the gameplay problems that were thrown our way. However, there was one little snag, and that is the fact that to get the best possible ending, you need to save a character who basically gets turned against you during the course of the game by using a special item on them. A special item that you have to pick up goo off the floor in one of the areas using a plastic bottle. Now, we kind of forgot to do that because we forgot that was even a thing. So, unfortunately for us, we didn't get the best possible ending on our run through Silent Hill 1. We still got a good ending. Harry Mason reunited with his daughter, kind of. If you've played Silent Hill 1, you understand what the kind of is. It's a strange game, strange plot, good gameplay. Even 20 years on, we had a good time with it. And then we moved on to attempt to play Silent Hill 2. I personally own Silent Hill 2 Inner Fears, which is the PAL Extended Edition on the original Xbox. The original Xbox games, many of them can be played on an Xbox 360, thanks to the glitchy, wonderful, flawed concept of its weird half-backwards compatibility that they introduced into that console. It's a bit strange. Some games work, some games don't. And Silent Hill 2 supposedly worked. So we were excited. We beat Silent Hill 1, moved straight on to Silent Hill 2. Unfortunately, black screen on the TV, nothing's happening. How depressing. How depressing. So myself and the Falcon decided to chat. What are we going to do? We're going to try to find it on PS2. We're going to go with the terrible, apparently, the HD collection, which they completely butchered. And as we were discussing this, the audio played from the demo reel that plays in Silent Hill 2 if you haven't picked anything off the menu. The audio was working, there was just no image, which, unfortunately, I know you're going for an atmospheric horror game with dark corridors and low lighting, but a black screen might make it a little bit impossible to play. So Silent Hill 2 has to be on pause for now until we can either acquire an original Xbox or roll the dice and maybe get some laughs out of the terrible, terrible Silent Hill HD collection. But that's our Silent Hill updates. What else have I been playing this week? Well, I've got some more good news for you. A few weeks ago, when both myself and my wife were both in the United States of America, Jem challenged me to try and beat a game that's quite complex, its puzzles are quite obtuse, and she wanted me to attempt it before she got back without a guide. And that was Day of the Tentacle, LucasArts 1993. It's remastered on the PS Vita, and I have had quite a fun time with a bit of frustration thrown in, but overall, it's been enjoyable. Now, I had gotten through the bulk of that game, made it to the end where you have like a final chapter, everyone's reunited, and I didn't realise that that is like 5 minutes from the end of the game, so I could have actually beaten this game a lot earlier, and unfortunately I decided to just sit on it for a while and just let it sink in. Some of these puzzles have been a bit frustrating. I have scratched and clawed and spent far too long in that game trying to brute force my way through some of these puzzles, and I expected to have to do that at the tail end of the game. I thought that would be the hardest part, and there's about 2 puzzles, and they're both kind of obvious. So, I don't know, you don't finish with a bang, you finish with a whimper, but overall, I greatly enjoyed playing Day of the Tentacle. And who knows? I've played Grim Fandango mostly with a guide. I've now played Day of the Tentacle without one. I know Full Throttle Remastered is also available on many consoles and handhelds. Maybe I'll go there next and try that one without a guide. These are the sort of games that I knew existed back in the day, but I just never got around to playing them. And it has been quite a fun exercise, a fun little challenge to sort of throw down the gauntlet and say, yes, I'm going to play a hard, confusing game without a guide because I'm a great gamer. And I don't know if it makes me great, but I did it, and I'm proud of myself. A little pat on the back. Jem will be so pleased when she hears that I've done that. If you're listening to this podcast without me contacting you ahead of time, well, I did it, darling. Praise me. Praise me. And apart from that, most of my other console gaming has been centered around Red Dead Redemption 2. No surprise if you've tuned in the past few weeks. I'm finally making my way through one of the greatest games of 2018. And, man, I wasn't sure this game was clicking with me early on because of its slower-paced gameplay, and everything just seems to take a while to do. Even just walking through the camp, you can't go at a fast speed, and it's just so restrictive. But it feels more realistic, I guess. And speaking of the camp, you're there, you're a bunch of basically bandits. That's a lot of B's, but you're basically a bunch of bandits on the run from the law. Things have gone bad in another area of the Wild West. You're trying to make a new life and get yourself settled. And you have, probably over a dozen people in this camp. And as you're walking through, you can either greet people or antagonize them, depending on if you want to get in their bad books or just have a cheeky prod and poke the bear. But it has been interesting to see the different dynamics between certain characters in that camp. It feels like a community. That's something that Mass Effect, you have the crew of the Normandy there, and that feels like a family in a way. But this feels almost even more intensely like a group of close-knit people. You can chat with all of them, and they all interact with Arthur, who you play as, in different ways. And some of them like each other. Some of them certainly do not like each other. There's a new guy who comes in who basically everybody hates. There's a person you rescue on a mission that's been missing and everyone's so happy to have him back. And so you throw a party. There's a little party going on a mountaintop in the Wild West. Everyone's singing and hollering to the guitar songs that's going on. They're playing poker. They're getting drunk, telling stories. It's fantastic. Fantastic stuff. I just love that feeling of just being part of a group. Even though they're AI, even though they're scripted, they are my family. And, man, I'm just enjoying spending time at that camp. That's the sort of thing that I thought might drag on me, but now that I've started to earn money and I've started to upgrade all of the facilities around the camp, the bedding and the tents are getting upgraded, which is making morale around the camp better. They're giving more for the greater good of the camp. I've updated our food, our weaponry, our medicine. It's just fun. I haven't even really spent any money on my own character because all the money I'm earning, I'm putting into the camp because I want Mary Beth to be happy. I want Molly to be happy. I want Dutch to be happy, even though I have some bad feelings about Dutch. I'm not sure that's going to go very well, but we'll see. And man, I've enjoyed that. The missions have started to get good and immersive. The only thing I'm having a bit of confusion with is the cinematic camera mode. When you're going from A to B, you can follow the path automatically using your horse if you use the cinematic camera. And sometimes I don't think you have to steer, and then there's other times where I just think you don't have to steer, but you probably should steer because I've used cinematic camera to go off a cliff a couple of times, and I'm always confused as to when it actually works and when it doesn't. So that's... I captured, using the PlayStation share ability, I did capture a funny little video clip of that, of me wandering my way off a cliff during a conversation with one of my bandit friends, and it's just, man, that's just not what you want in the Wild West when you're trying to get a reputation of being a tough guy, a resisting criminal, and I can't even ride my horse right because I'm going off a cliff. Sad stuff. Shorter gaming goals this week because I have nobody to bounce off of. It's just me with my updates. But in a way, that's a good thing because we've got a lot of news to cover coming up right after this.
Share the love. Follow us on Twitter at BrendoGem. That's BrendoJem.
Now, this week, it has actually been quite difficult to keep up to date with all the new video game news that has been announced this week, whether willingly or unwillingly, as we'll have a look at very soon. Normally, in years past, it has been focused all around the big press conference reveals. Even if you're just a video game developer, not one of the major publishers like a Sony or a Microsoft, even if you were just a video game developer, you would probably partner up with one of those bigger companies to reveal your new game on their press conference stage. Of course, with the connected internet, social media world we have today, these things don't exactly have to wait for the big press conferences. And in some ways, game companies are opting to release their news ahead of those big conferences because otherwise they might get lost in the shuffle. They might get drowned out by some other major announcements. And so the week leading into E3 itself has been absolutely bonkers with the amount of information and games and titles and hardware and software and It's been incredible. I've had a great time this week. Every morning I can wake up and check my news feed for a great deal of information. We've also had, speaking of great deals, the days of play sales going on, thanks to Sony. We've had bargains galore, information galore, new reveals. It's been like video gaming nirvana this week. And man, you know what's exciting? I suppose one of the things that a lot of people have been very curious about recently has been the very concept of Google's new video gaming endeavor, Stadia. And they revealed a lot about their new video game online service in a little video they called the Stadia Connect video series. I assume it's going to be a series. This is just the first one, maybe. Who knows? Now, a lot of the questions we had about Stadia were answered in this video that they released. We weren't sure whether it was going to be a completely subscription-based service like a Netflix, or if it was going to be you buy games piecemeal. I want this one, and I want this one, and I want this one, so I'll just buy those three. Well, in a way, it seems like you get the option to do either, or maybe even a bit of both. They have a free service where you can just buy individual games if you want them. If you want this specific title, you don't want to pay for a subscription. If you want that to be yours, you can just buy it individually. But I think the thing that most people are going to go to Stadia for is going to be the pro level, which is the $9.99 US dollars. US dollars is quite important to this story. Just remember that one. $9.99 a month for a subscription that allows you to play a great library that they have available on Stadia. Now, if that's all it was, that's cool. I'm concerned that not all the games are going to be on the subscription. Maybe some will come and go, sort of like the Xbox Game Pass has, or like a Games with Gold even, or a PS Plus subscription, where you have a few that are available anytime you have your subscription active. You might have a few, and then you might have a different ones in a few weeks. So we still need to wait and see how that's going to work. Now, I did emphasize US dollars because there was a bit of disappointment going around the entire globe when they revealed that Stadia is going to be releasing worldwide in 14 countries only. Yeah, and unfortunately for my good self, that's not Australia included in that list, sadly. So I cannot be an early adopter for Stadia because it's not going to be available in my country on launch. I guess I'll just have to be a spectator to see how it all goes. In a way, I suppose that's a good thing for new technology. If it doesn't work out well, they've got time to iron out the bugs before it launches in a great many other places in 2020 and beyond. Now, as far as the games that were shown on this reel of highlights that they had, there was some new stuff, there was some old stuff, but the thing that definitely got my attention, Larian Studios, Baldur's Gate 3. What a match made in heaven that would be. For those who don't know, Larian Studios, they've made some fantastic RPGs that, just like every other second game that comes out on the market, I can't wait to try one day. I have always been a fan of Western-style RPGs that combine great story with great stats and leveling up and all that sort of fantastic stuff that I fell in love with because I discovered a game called Baldur's Gate back in the day. Now, I find it amusing that during this reveal trailer, one of the directors or heads of Larian Studios said, we went to Wizards of the Coast, basically the Dungeons and Dragons people, and said, we would like to make Baldur's Gate 3. And they said, yeah, we're not sure you can really make Baldur's Gate 3. So, no thank you. And since then, they've released two of the most critically acclaimed Western RPGs that have ever been made. And so now they've said, oh yes, by all means, please make Baldur's Gate 3. I find that hilarious. Now, I haven't seen any actual gameplay footage. All we got was the reveal trailer, all rendered in a fancy full-motion video. I suppose one good thing about Google Stadia, because it's all handled hardware-wise on their end, at the moment, it's only announced for PC and Stadia. I don't have a good quality gaming PC. And so maybe Stadia is the right option for me. Maybe if it's only on the subscription-based service, I could get that subscription for 3 months and play through Baldur's Gate 3. Now, the issue I have, and I've always had this with digital downloads, like without owning a physical disc or subscription-based gaming, is that you don't actually own anything. You don't have anything. If they want to close down servers, it's gone forever. Now, that's obviously going to be probably decades away at this point. But maybe I want to play Baldur's Gate 3 when I'm 85 years old. We don't know these things. So I'm a little apprehensive about that whole aspect. But it's just nice to know that I don't need top-notch hardware. All I need is a reliable internet connection, which might be a problem in itself in Australia. But at least the option is there to enjoy it while it's looking good and it runs well. Even if that is just a streamed game from Google's gaming nerve center, whatever they called it. That certainly was not the last great reveal. As excited as I am for Baldur's Gate 3, I imagine that's a long way off. But we also saw some other great reveals as well. Ghost Recon Breakpoint looked fantastic. The idea that they have in that game that you can basically get live feeds from your teammate, which I guess if you were a squad-based, infiltration unit, having that information would make coordinating attacks so much better. I mean, a team-based, squad-based shooter where you're trying to survive, and I assume you will die rather quickly in a game like this. I've played some of the earlier Ghost Recon games. The tactical side of things I absolutely love, and the fact that you can get live feeds from your teammates, meaning you know exactly where they are. You know, my good buddy the Falcon isn't in position yet. I got to wait a few more seconds. This guard's sneaking up on me. I need to make a move now. Do we take the shot now? What do we do? Tell me what I'm doing. And you can coordinate even better the fact that you can see what's happening on your teammates' vision on your screen. That's cool as. I think that's an excellent thing. As long as they can make it work well, top notch. That's going to be 2 thumbs up. There was also another reveal trailer during this for a game called Gylt, Gylt, which looks almost like a Silent Hill for maybe not a younger generation, but it's more cartoony, animated. It's like if Disney Pixar made a Silent Hill game, which sounds like a complete clash of styles. Actually, I really want to see the result of that. But it's got that sort of deformed, cutesy art style. Not even cutesy. It's just it feels like an animated movie. But if you took that gameplay, it's basically a Silent Hill or an Outlast or something like that. It has my attention. We'll have to wait and see if it's actually excels or if it just is a serviceable game. I'm still apprehensive on that early on. And another reveal they showed during the Stadia Connect was Get Packed. I don't know if that sounds like an insult. Get packed. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But what it looks like is if you took Overcooked, took the deformed little squishy characters, stretched them into normal proportioned humans, and you're trying to remove furniture from a house as quickly as possible. And that may involve everyone grabbing a corner of a car and trying to get it across the road before the traffic hits it. It may involve causing chaos with what looked like beer kegs and fireworks. And a game like this is going to live or die based on how fun and sure, you can be a bit frustrating, but it still needs to be an entertaining, fun, silly game. And I think they're going for that. It looks a little bit more realistic-y than Overcooked or the games coming out that are like Overcooked. There's actually a game coming out very soon that has very similar gameplay, but with a arguably better art style, which does look a lot like Overcooked's graphically, called Moving Out. Whether Moving Out or Get Packed is going to be the king of the hill, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But if it is still an enjoyable game, I'm sure everyone will get on board that. And The Division 2, we also had a little bit more information about that, which will be operating on Google Stadia. You can have your 4K 60 frames per second surround sound, provided you have a Pro subscription. It should be interesting to see what sort of percentage of people do go for the Pro subscription and which ones just opt to try it out with a free base service. The Division 2 obviously going to be coming out on all the major consoles. I'm very curious to see how sales versus subscriptions work in a head-to-head environment in the future. I mean, that's obviously we'll just have to sit and wait and see what the data is later on. But I'm kind of curious to see where people flock to. The accessibility of Google Stadia might be the deciding factor, but if people already have existing consoles and existing friends and headsets and subscriptions, maybe they won't want to go away from that if they have their close-knit friends. Destiny 2, another example coming out of the Google Stadia, included in the Founders Edition. If you get a Founders Edition pre-order, where you get the Night Blue controller, 3 months Stadia Pro, plus a buddy pack, you can gift 3 months Pro to someone else. You get Destiny 2 and a Chromecast Ultra. And if that's not enough, you will also get first dibs on your gaming name on the Stadia network. So for some people, that's a vital thing. I'm sure there's going to be at least a few people out there who are going to get this purely so they can make sure they lock down Headhunter 420 as their name. No doubt, no doubt. Now, as I said before, kind of miffed that Australia misses out. I think we are a big enough market that we could and should warrant connecting in these things, but I guess with servers, they only have so many, especially because it's online. You don't want to do a simultaneous worldwide launch, but seriously, man, Australia shouldn't have to miss out on this. Boo! Disappointed.
You're listening to the Gaming Lovers Podcast. Want to join the conversation? Visit thegaminglovers.com. Record your comment or question by clicking on the button on the right-hand side, and you could be featured in the next podcast.
Now, while there were some great reveals during these sort of official announcements, not everything has been kept under wraps so successfully this week. We have had a leak of the new Watch Dogs game that has been announced a little early. I mean, with that one, at least you can blame the hackers because that's what that game's all about. That's fine. But poor Bandai Namco have been through the ringer this week, where not one, not two, but 3 major projects all leaked early. All the hard work, all the secrecy, the non-disclosure agreements, the espionage that's going on in the video gaming industry to try and keep things under wraps for a big, effective, impactful E3 reveal announcement, and then somebody leaks it all. I don't understand how these things happen sometimes, but poor Bandai Namco, they had Ni no Kuni remastered and a Switch launch as well, a game that I missed out during the PS3 era. It's a JRPG, basically, with a Studio Ghibli coat of paint, made by Level 5, who make some of my favourite games. So that sounds like a winner. It's one of those things I just don't have time for because I want to play so many darn different games. But that's exciting to make sure that Ni no Kuni makes its way to even more households than what it has been in. I think it's a fantastic looking game. Haven't played it myself, but the fact that it's being remastered, it's going to be available on Nintendo Switch, that's good news for Bandai. Unfortunately, they didn't want everyone to know about it just yet. Secondly, Tales of series, another JRPG series that has been going for years. I have played Tales of Symphonia, and that's pretty much about it. I played that on the Nintendo GameCube back in the day, but it's another series that's always held a little bit of my attention to see how that series is tracking, how it's trending, which one of those entries is worth playing, and I love the style. Again, I just wish I had more time personally to play it. But there's a new game. Tales of Arise was leaked as well. Poor Bandai Namco. That's 2 big ones. Surely, at least none of the big news items were leaked early. But oh no. Oh no. What have we here? Only the most excited group of fans you'll ever find. It's fans of From Software, makers of Dark Souls. You may have heard of that. Maybe a bit of Bloodborne. Maybe Sekiro, which has been a great success lately. These sort of games, everybody wants more. It's been a successful developer for years with these hits after hits after hits. We hear some whispers online, a couple of little whispers here and there, that potentially they are working with the author of Game of Thrones, George R.R. Martin. What a collaboration that would be. And yes, it's official, but not officially official because they didn't mean to make it official. It was leaked that they are working on Elden Ring, a game that will no doubt sell like hotcakes when you have two rabid fan bases combining into one. Fans of George R.R. Martin's work, fans of the From Software games. You combine the two, wham bam, that's going to be a top of the chart seller. It's just a bit sad that Bandai Namco didn't want you to know about it. And it got to the point where the director of Bandai Namco did send out a tweet venting his frustrations, and the tweet was all the characters that showed up as he just mashed his keyboard in frustration. Never has so much emotion and so much accurate human feeling been placed into a tweet than that one right there. We apologise to you. I'm sorry for spreading the news. It's a bit late now. I'm sure it's already out there by now. I'm not helping the spread, but I'm not hindering it either. These are going to be some great titles. Bandai Namco, I feel for you guys. Maybe you just got to change that password next year. Make sure you only tell those who are supposed to know. And if I do tell you anything secret, I may just have to kill you. And earlier this week, Nintendo did also reveal some more gameplay footage of Pokemon Sword and Shield, the next generation of Pokemon games coming to the Nintendo Switch, and they look pretty good. Our new gimmick this time around is Dynamaxing, which basically makes your Pokemon into a Godzilla. You can supercharge your Pokemon for 3 rounds in combat to make them absolutely enormous, super powerful, super defensive. It's going to be a guessing game as to when the best time is to use those sort of powers, because not only can you use them, gym leaders can use them, other trainers can use them, and the biggest change to the Pokemon franchise dynamics is that the open world area can be explored by multiple people at the same time, and if you're playing online, you can do raids against Dynamaxed Pokemon in the wild. That's going to be interesting to see how well the community works together in those sort of things. I don't know if when you catch the Pokemon, everybody gets it. How do you decide who makes the throw? We're going to have to wait and see on a few more details there. There were also some new Pokemon designs revealed, and everybody on the internet instantly fell in love with Wooloo, the sheep Pokemon, who is just a cute little ball of fluff. I want one. I'm sure Gem wants one. Pokemon Sword and Shield, we also got to meet our legendaries. One of them, speaking of FromSoft, does look like the Great Wolf Sif. Certainly not an original joke. It's been around the internet a bit this week. But, you know, we got Sword, we got Shield. It's kind of what I expected. The Sword guy, the Sword Wolf Dog thing looks pretty much what you'd expect. But the Shield one sort of looks a bit weird. He's like a half of a Megazord combined with a dog, and yeah, the shield dynamic just doesn't quite look right on his head. It's a bit disappointing. I think that's helped me decide which version of the game I'm going to buy. And of course, the most important question is, which starter am I going to pick? And if you guessed Score Bunny, you're probably right. He just looks like he's out of a Sonic game. And of course, when it came to the release date for Pokemon Sword and Shield, you could have probably put money down on this. Coming out in November, which is going to, of course, be peak video game release season. November 2019 for Pokemon Sword and Shield. Of course, you can also pre-order multiple pack bundles with each version included. I'm sure people will buy a lot of those as well. Whether I have to jump on this straight away or not, we'll have to wait and see. I did enjoy playing a Nintendo game on the Switch. Big surprise, it's a Nintendo console. I meant to say playing a Pokemon game on the Switch when I played Pokemon Let's Go Eevee early this year. And that was actually quite enjoyable to take on the road with me, to play on my breaks at work. And maybe this is just what I need to keep my Pokemon fandom fueled for the next generation. Having a portable console entry. This is all I've wanted for years, was a proper console entry Pokemon game. We're finally getting them with Pokemon Sword and Shield. That's some exciting stuff. Hope you're excited as I am. I'm excited. Now, there was one particular title I've been very, very curious as to seeing it in action. I have been waiting with bated breath for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order to finally get revealed. How is it going to play? How is it going to feel? How is it going to look? What sort of dynamics are we looking at here? We got very little information when it was first announced, when it was first revealed, and now finally we've seen gameplay footage, about 15 minutes worth. It's looking pretty much exactly like I hoped it would. It feels like an Uncharted game, but you are a Jedi, and the sort of Tomb Raider, Uncharted gameplay where you have combat areas, but then you're exploring, you're climbing up vines or cliffs, or in this case, grated metal walkways that have fallen against a wall. In a way, it's not exactly inspired, it's not exactly new, it's not breaking any ground, but it looks serviceable for sure. It looks enjoyable, and hopefully there's still a little something they're holding back from these trailers to sort of really wow us when the game comes out. I've been waiting for a new Star Wars Jedi-style single-player game. Big fan of the Jedi Knight series growing up. Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy. They were all fantastic stuff. I just enjoy that gameplay of just having a lightsaber and being able to deflect blaster bolts and using force powers on people. That's one thing I did quite enjoy in that trailer of the gameplay footage for Jedi Fallen Order was the force powers. The very start of Star Wars Episode 7, when Kylo Ren stops a blaster shot in midair, just looked absolutely badass. And the fact that in this game, you can use your force powers to basically trap people in time, put them in stasis. It works on enemies, it works on machinery, it works on blaster bolts. And the highlight of the entire gameplay trailer for me was when the Jedi you're playing as froze a blaster bolt, used the force to drag a stormtrooper towards him, and then placed him in front of the blaster bolt. So the dude basically shot himself from a distance, from like 10 meters away. Shouldn't seem like it's possible, but with the force, mysterious things can happen. I'm also already a fan of the little droid dude who follows you around, BD, whatever his name is. That guy looks cool. He sends you little health packs when you need it. He's there slicing the security systems. He's there to help you out, projecting maps. I'm sure I'm going to buddy up with him, and if they kill him in any way, I'm going to be devastated, and I'll never buy any Star Wars games ever again, because that's not cool, dude. Not cool. Now, although I have been flying solo, Han Solo, on this episode, all by myself, since my dear wife, Jem, is currently experiencing all sorts of Star Wars awesomeness, I just had to go and contact her via hologram to get her thoughts on Jedi Fallen Order.
Hi, Brendo. It's Jem, and I am here in Disneyland. Can you believe it? About to go into Galaxy's Edge. I'm not trying to brag anything, but I'm totally bragging right now. So pumped with all the Star Wars news, though, especially coming out of E3 with the new gameplay footage that we got for the Jedi Fallen Order. Looks amazing! Oh my goodness. I'm so happy that it is in third person. I know it's something silly and small, but it's one of those details that just makes me happy to see. But the graphics look good. It's solid footage that we've seen of gameplay. The mechanics look smooth, and the combat is going to be a lot of fun. The running along walls looks like it's going to warp my mind, and I'm really looking forward to it. There's so much going on at the moment as far as Star Wars, so I'm like having trouble thinking of the right words to say as far as just how pumped I am for this game. But as more and more news comes out of E3, I'm sure there'll be even more to unwrap, and I'll be able to talk to you about it in person next week, along with my full review of Galaxy's Edge from here at Disneyland. So until next time, may the Force be with you.
Well, I'm trying not to let jealousy creep in too much, because jealousy leads to anger, and anger leads to the dark side, yes. So, look, I'm excited for Jedi Fallen Order. There's a lot of things I think it does well that I saw in that gameplay footage. The action and the scanning, getting new codex entries and things like that. I'm enjoying what I've seen. I think it probably still has a little way to go to hit that excellent range. Some people have criticized it and saying that it does feel like the video game. If you're going to have a video game with all the current mechanics in it, here you go, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. But I'm looking forward. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt for now. I think they still have something up their sleeve. Hopefully this does well enough to show EA that yes, single-player games do have a future. I'm so thankful that Sony in particular this week tweeted out, yes, we are supporting our single-player narrative-based games. They have done very well for us, and we are going to continue making them. And I'm just like, oh, bravo, Sony. Thank you for voicing that for all of us. So all these things and so much more revealed this week. I mean, this isn't even E3 proper yet. That's coming up. It may have already happened by the time you listen to this podcast. Obviously, we try not to adjust our recording schedule too much for the Gaming Lovers podcast, so this just lined up smack bang, me recording this a few hours basically from when the press conferences start rolling out. It's going to be a busy week. I didn't want to rush the announcements for those. I probably could have squeezed in the Microsoft one at the very least, but I want some time to sit and gather my own thoughts about whatever gets announced. Didn't want to rush it. I figured next week, the full E3 experience, Brendo and Jem reunited. It's going to be a fantastic episode. And here's hoping that we get some more secrets that have not been leaked just yet.
Share the love. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Gaming Lovers.
Well, thank you again, one and all, for keeping me company in this pre-E3 week. It's been some exciting times. Games are always interesting to see revealed. They're exciting to buy, but hopefully, just hopefully, you get the most excitement from actually playing them. And now I'm going to talk about what I intend on playing in the next week. It's going to be a busy week. Not too much time, I think, will be allocated for actual gaming. I mean, we've got the big E3 press conferences. There's going to be PC gaming one, Ubisoft, Microsoft. Thankfully, not everybody's doing one this year. We don't have a Sony one to worry about, so that takes a bit of the pressure off. But Nintendo also will have a Nintendo Direct revealing their new things. If you're like myself, you might want to sit and actually watch them all. And I plan to as much as I can. Maybe I'll skip the VR one and the limited run games and things like that, the more minor ones. But that's a lot of time that I would like to focus and watch these things. I'm not a multitask gamer like my wife can be at times. But we'll have to wait and see how I go. Maybe I'll squeeze in some Red Dead Redemption 2 this week. Maybe I won't. The big question is, now that I've beaten Day of the Tentacle, I'm at a crossroads with my portable gaming again. Yet again. So it's going to come down to probably Chrono Trigger on the DS. May finally get a run. Odin Sphere Lifthauser, Lefthäuser. I still don't know how to pronounce that. On the PS Vita that I bought in the US, that's another option. Iconoclasts I could probably focus on and play through to its completion. Darkest Dungeon that I was playing on the America flights, I'm not going anywhere near that for a while. That's just depressed me into oblivion. The options are open. This is going to be a very open week of gaming goals. Not going to commit to anything, unfortunately. I'm sorry if I have left you unfulfilled there, but who knows? With all this information leaks, I'm sure someone will tweet you in a couple days and tell you exactly what I'm playing anyway. Well, until next week, what wonderful things does E3 have in store? If there's any announcements that have come out this week, next week, during E3, before E3, after E3, let us know on social media at Brendo Jem, BrendoJem, and let us know what you're most excited for. And Maybe even some things that you just wish would come out. Come on, baby! Give me another Jet Set Radio. I would be the happiest man alive. One can only dream, right? Once again, thanks for joining me. I'll say Chowski from myself. I'll say Bayonara as well. It's been a few weeks since that's been uttered properly. Have yourself a great week. I hope you're enjoying E3 as well. And catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Gaming Lovers Podcast. For more episodes or to watch some live stream gaming, visit thegaminglovers.com.